Are you looking at sophisticated property transactions, the type of transactions that buy-to-let lenders simply won't touch? So this is where bridging loans and bridging finance will kick in, and it could be a complete game changer to your property investment strategy. So whether you're looking to purchase a home, do a refurb, build a block of flats, whatever the case may be, bridging finance could be the answer for you. But how do they work? What are the risks, and how can you use them to your advantage? So bridging finance is effectively short-term lending, and short-term lending means anything up to around 24 months, but typically it's around 12 to 18. Now, the idea with bridging finance is you purchase a property, you add significant value to it, and then you either flip that property or you refinance it, all within that short period of time. Now, bridging finance is the product to use if you are looking for property projects. Bridging finance is typically utilised when traditional lending isn't available. So that is when a surveyor goes out to the property, they value it as being non-lettable, so not in a lettable condition. So buy-to-let lenders want to lend on properties where literally you can purchase them and let them the next day. If you can't do that with the property that you found, it's more project-based than it is long-term based. That means that bridging finance will step in, you can do the works to the property, add the value, and then refinance onto a long-term product. Basically, you're at the mercy of the surveyors when it comes to the ultimate decision to lend. If the surveyor deems the property unsuitable for long-term use, then buy-to-let lenders are out of the equation. And that's when bridging finance obviously steps in. Now, in regards to the risks to bridging finance, there are three. So there's time, exits, and calculated return. So let's break all those three down. So in regards to time, if you are looking at a project and you think the project will take you, say, 3 months, I'll set the tone. Let's just say you found a property, it's in a bit of a poor state, it needs a medium refurb, meaning new bathroom, new kitchen, new wiring, new flooring, new plumbing, liquor paint, flooring, that sort of thing. Builder comes around, quotes you 3 months. What I would do is add 100% onto that time frame, which is 6. And then what I would do is think, well, what is going to be my exit? If my exit is a refinance, I would add at least another 3 months to 4 months onto that. The reason being is, if you apply to one lender and the application fails, that could take you 4 weeks to find out. You've then got enough time to apply for a second or even a third. If you're looking to sell the property, I would add at least 6 months onto that. Typically, house sales are taking around 3 to 6 months anyway. From my experience, they're taking around 4 to 5. So you want enough time on the product to make sure you can repay the bridging lender. Now, of course, extending the bridging term to 12 months will be more expensive for you, but you never want to re-bridge a bridge. In other words, you don't want to refinance a bridging loan with another bridging loan. All that will do is it will just eat into your margins, and your margins will start looking like this. So exits are probably the most important element of looking at a bridging loan. And it's so important to understand what the exit's going to be. So is it going to be a refinance? Is it going to be a sale? And you've got to be really solid with your numbers. If the numbers start to fail, all that will happen is that the bridging lender will win and you're going to lose. When thinking about a property project, when thinking about doing a refurb or a house extension or buying a plot of land, splitting the titles, building houses on it or flats or whatever the case may be, always take into account, obviously, firstly, time. How much time do you need? And obviously bake in a margin of additional time just in case you run into any problems. But on top of that, think to yourself, right, how do I actually repay this loan? And am I going to make any money? Third risk, calculated returns. So what you want to do is you want to look at 4 numbers. You want to look at the purchase price, the cost of works, the time frame for the works, and then the end value. Now, when it comes to the end value, you're obviously going to be speaking to estate agents. One of the problems with estate agents is typically they overinflate prices. You've got to think more like a surveyor. What would the surveyor value the property at? So rule of thumb, if the estate agent says the property is going to be worth £1 million, take 10% off it and then work backwards from those figures. So let's just say that the end value is going to be 900,000. You're purchasing the property for 500,000. It's going to cost you 200,000. So you're in for 7 now, not including acquisition costs like stamp duty and legal fees. And the bridging lender is going to take, for example, £70,000 of that. So you're up to 770, value of the property 900. You're in for what, 130,000 profit margin. If that makes sense to you, and obviously if the margin is suitable for you, then bridging finance is obviously the way forward. Typically, you want to be working on a margin of around 20 to 30%. If you look at the big developers, they're working on thirds. So thirds to acquire the plot, thirds for the build, and then third on a profit margin. I'm going to give you 3 examples how we've helped 3 clients with their property projects in 2024, but I'm going to leave my favorite to last. Under market property transactions. So we've had a client this year bought a property for 190,000. It was actually valued at 290. So we used bridging finance to acquire the property. He put down, I think, a 30% deposit. We're doing the refinance right now at 290. All in all, he's going to be releasing around £120,000 from that transaction. Now, taking into account that the total acquisition cost to purchase the property was around 65, that's not a bad deal. So effectively, he's got back his 65 and then another circa 60 grand on top. So we helped a client purchase a bungalow. It was a 3-bed bungalow using a bridge. He managed to secure planning consent to convert the bungalow from a 3-bed into a 5-bed house. Purchase price was 500 grand. The cost of the bridge, including all of the solicitors and valuations and everything else, was around 50. So he's up to 550 now. The cost of the works was 150. So now we're up to 7, and the property's going to be hitting the market for around 950. Example 3, and my absolute favorite this year. Client owns a residential property worth 950. He's then gone out and bought another residential property, which is going to be his new property for his family. Purchase price 550. Deposit £0. 0. So the client put down no money whatsoever. And the way we did it was we utilized the equity which is in his current residential property, but we also utilized the equity within his parents' property, which is unencumbered. So his parents are not on the title deeds for the new property or his existing, but we managed to get the lender to cross-charge, what's known as cross-charge, so put a charge effectively on the parents' house as well as his own, so he could purchase this property with absolutely no money whatsoever. The clients then used his cash to renovate the property, did an extension. He's going to be moving in December.